Have you been wondering why something you once wanted so badly suddenly feels strangely quiet inside you? Have you been trying to make yourself care again because you are afraid that losing interest means you have become lazy, ungrateful, inconsistent, or somehow less serious about your life? And what if the deepest discomfort is not coming from losing the dream at all, but from realizing that you may no longer be the person who needed it? There are moments when a desire does not disappear dramatically. Nothing announces its departure. There is no argument, no obvious ending, no single morning when you wake up and declare that you are finished. It becomes quieter. You still remember wanting it. You still remember talking about it. You may even remember building parts of your identity around it. Yet when you reach toward it now, something feels different. The old electricity is not there. The thought that once pulled you forward now sits in front of you without the same power. And because you remember how intensely you once wanted it, you may believe you are supposed to keep wanting it forever. You may think consistency means never changing your mind. You may think commitment means maintaining the same emotional intensity long after your inner life has changed. You may think that if you stop chasing something, every hour you spent chasing it becomes wasted. None of that has to be decided right now. You do not need to quit anything today. You do not need to throw away a plan, resign from a path, end a relationship, announce a new identity, or explain yourself to people who still recognize the older version of you. You do not have to prove that you have changed. You do not have to prove that you have not changed. You do not even have to know exactly what this feeling means yet. For now, there can be a little room between what you re-feeling and what you believe you must do about it. That room matters, because the moment you feel yourself losing interest, fear often rushes in and tries to interpret the silence before you have had time to understand it. Fear says you are giving up. Fear says you never finish anything. Fear says this is why you cannot trust yourself. Fear begins collecting evidence from years ago. It reminds you of the class you stopped taking, the project you abandoned, the person you stopped calling, the plan you changed, the hobby that disappeared from your calendar, the version of your future you once described with absolute certainty. Then it places all of those things beside the desire that is fading now and says, "See, there is something wrong with you." But a changing desire is not a verdict. It is information. And information deserves curiosity before condemnation. Perhaps you have been opening the same website every few days, even though you no longer feel excited when you see it. Perhaps you have been checking for an opportunity you once desperately hoped would appear, and now when something similar finally shows up, you feel almost nothing. You stare at it longer than necessary. You reread the details. You try to recreate the person who would have been thrilled by this 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. You tell yourself, This is what I wanted. You remind yourself how many times you imagined this moment. You remember how frustrated you were when the door stayed closed. And now the door appears to be opening, yet some part of you is not running toward it. That can be frightening. It can even feel disrespectful to your former self. You may think of everything that version of you endured while wanting this: the late nights, the planning, the waiting, the rehearsed conversations, the saved photographs, the lists, the private promises, the searches you made when everyone else was asleep, the small calculations about how your life might look if this one thing finally happened. You may have pictured the apartment, the job, the recognition, the relationship, the number in your bank account, the body, the city, the business, the qualification, the audience, the invitation, the apology, the reunion, the approval. You may have returned to that picture during difficult days because it gave your mind somewhere to go. It became more than a goal. It became a place you visited internally, a future room where everything made sense. So when that picture stops comforting you, the loss can feel larger than simply changing your mind. You may wonder where you are supposed to go now. That is often the part nobody prepares you for. People speak about the pain of not getting what you want. They speak less often about the strange grief of finally becoming less interested in what you spent years trying to get. The world knows how to congratulate pursuit. It understands ambition when ambition is loud. It understands the sentence, "I am working towards something." It understands the sentence, "I finally achieved it." But there is another sentence that can be harder to say. "I do not know whether I want this anymore." Those words can make you feel exposed. They can sound irresponsible when spoken aloud, especially if people watched you work for it, especially if someone sacrificed for it, especially if you convinced others that this was your direction, especially if you defended it, especially if someone doubted you and you vowed to prove them wrong, especially if the desire became tangled with pride. Then losing interest can feel like losing an argument you once intended to win. You might keep going simply because you do not want certain people to believe they were right about you. You might continue chasing something that no longer feels alive because stopping would force you to face an uncomfortable question. If I am not proving myself through this anymore, what am I proving, and to whom? There are days when you can spend more energy protecting the story of what you wanted than actually wanting it. You answer questions automatically. Yes, I am still working on it. Yes, that is still the plan. Yes, I still want to move there. Yes, I am still trying to make it happen. Yes, I am still waiting. The words leave your mouth faster than you can examine them. They are familiar. They prevent follow-up questions. They preserve continuity. They make you sound certain. Then later, perhaps while washing a cup or turning off a light or sitting alone in your car, another thought arrives. Do I? Do I still want this? Not, am I afraid? Not, is it difficult? Not, have I temporarily lost motivation? Something quieter. Do I still want the life attached to this desire? That question deserves respect, because there is a difference between being discouraged and being complete. There is a difference between needing rest and needing redirection. There is a difference between fear telling you to run and wisdom telling you that you no longer belong where you once stood. And no single sentence can determine which one is true for you. This is why you do not need to rush. You are not being asked to turn one quiet feeling into a dramatic decision. You are being invited to become honest enough to hear yourself again. Sometimes the first thing you hear is not an answer. It is fatigue. You realize you are tired of convincing yourself, tired of manufacturing excitement, tired of returning to an old vision and trying to make it feel new, tired of telling yourself that one more achievement will revive the person who first created the goal. Tired of wondering why discipline feels heavier now. You may accuse yourself of lacking motivation. You may download another planner. You may reorganize the schedule. You may create a new morning routine. You may write the goal again in larger letters. You may watch someone talk about consistency and decide that your problem is insufficient effort. For a few days, the structure can produce movement. You complete the tasks, you make the calls, you send the messages, you reopen the document, you return to the gym, you study the material, you research the next step. And yet underneath all of that activity, a quiet truth remains untouched. Movement is not always desire. You can move through habit. You can move through fear. You can move through obligation. You can move because stopping would require an explanation. You can move because you have forgotten how to imagine yourself without the destination. You can move because everyone around you still expects you to arrive. You can even move because the chase itself has become familiar, and familiarity can feel safer than emptiness. There is nothing shameful about that. The mind likes recognizable structures. A known struggle can feel less frightening than an unknown freedom. At least the struggle tells you what tomorrow is supposed to contain. Wake up. Try harder. Improve. Check. Wait. Repeat. A dream can become a schedule long after it stops being a desire. And when that happens, releasing even one part of the schedule may create unexpected anxiety. What do I do at 7 in the morning if I'm not working toward this? What do I think about before I sleep? What do I talk about with the people who know me through this goal? What replaces the little rush I used to feel when I imagined finally getting there? What do I put in the space? These are real questions. They do not mean you should hold on to something forever. They mean identity takes time to reorganize. You're allowed to treat that process with care. You do not need to mock the person who wanted what you may no longer want. That older version of you was not naive simply because you have changed. That person may have been doing the best they could with the needs, information, wounds, hopes, opportunities, fears, and possibilities available at the time. There may have been wisdom in the desire, even if the desire does not belong to your future. Perhaps wanting recognition taught you to create. Perhaps wanting a certain relationship taught you what tenderness means to you. Perhaps wanting success taught you discipline. Perhaps wanting independence taught you to hear your own voice. Perhaps wanting money taught you where fear had been living. Perhaps wanting a particular career taught you what kind of work drains you and what kind of work wakes something up inside you. Perhaps wanting to be chosen exposed how often you had been abandoning your own preferences to remain acceptable. A desire can teach you without becoming your permanent destination. That distinction can change the way you speak to your past. Instead of saying, "I wasted all that time," you can ask, "What became clearer because I walked that road?" Instead of saying, "I should never have wanted it," you can ask, "What did wanting it reveal?" Instead of saying, "I failed to become that person," you can ask, "Who did I become while trying?" There is often more there than you think. You learned your endurance. You learned your limits. You learned what praise can and cannot give you. You learned what achievement feels like after the applause ends. You learned that some things look different once they are close enough to touch. You learned that longing and belonging are not always the same thing. You learned that wanting something intensely does not create a lifelong obligation to keep wanting it. That last truth may be difficult to accept because many of us were taught to admire the person who picks one direction and never wavers. The story is clean. At 12, she knew what she wanted. At 20, she pursued it. At 30, she achieved it. The end. Real inner life is rarely so neat. You can love something honestly and later leave it honestly. You can devote years to a path and discover that the years themselves changed you. You can pray for a door and later realize you no longer need to walk through it. You can build something with your whole heart and still know when your heart is no longer living there in the same way. You can be grateful for what a dream gave you without forcing yourself to keep serving the dream. There is no betrayal in becoming more aware. There is no moral failure in learning. You are not required to remain psychologically loyal to every desire you have ever expressed. Imagine how impossible that would be. Think of what you wanted at 7 years old, at 13, at 18. Think of the people you believed you could not live without. Think of the things you thought would make you impressive. Think of the places you believed you had to reach before you could finally feel secure. Think of the version of success that once seemed unquestionable. Some of it changed. You did not hold a funeral for every old preference. You simply grew around it. One day you stopped asking for a certain thing. One day you stopped thinking about a certain person every morning. One day you stopped imagining a certain future. One day you realized that what once occupied 90% of your emotional world had become a small memory you could touch without entering. Growth often happens that quietly. That is why the absence of excitement can feel confusing. You may expect transformation to feel powerful. You may expect fireworks. You may expect confidence. Sometimes transformation first appears as indifference towards something that used to control your attention. You check less, you rehearse less, you fantasize less, you explain less, you stop building imaginary conversations around the outcome. You go several hours without thinking about it, then an entire day. Then you suddenly remember that you forgot to worry. That moment can almost scare you. You may reach back toward the old concern just to mock, 'cause sure you still care. You may reopen the message, check the status, look at the profile, search the number, read the old plan, review the goal, return to the memory. Not because you truly want to, but because familiarity whispers that you should. Then you discover the emotional charge has weakened. This is where self-judgment often enters. You ask what happened to your passion. You accuse yourself of becoming complacent. You wonder whether you are sabotaging your future. You may even try to create urgency because urgency used to make you feel alive. You set impossible deadlines. You compare yourself with people who still want what you once wanted. You watch them pursue it intensely and think, why am I not like that anymore? Because you are comparing your present truth with someone else's current chapter. You are also comparing it with your own former chapter. Neither comparison can tell you what belongs next. There is another possibility. You may not be losing your ability to care. Your care may be moving. Your attention may be asking for a different home. Your values may be rearranging themselves beneath the surface before you have language for the new arrangement. Something that once represented freedom may now feel like pressure. Something that once represented safety may now feel like limitation. Something that once represented love may now feel like approval. Something that once represented ambition may now feel like performance. Something that once represented success may now feel strangely disconnected from the life you actually want to inhabit. That does not automatically make the old thing bad. This matters. You do not need to turn yesterday's dream into today's enemy just to justify changing. People sometimes think they need a dramatic reason to move on. They search for evidence that the job was terrible, that the person was terrible, that the city was terrible, that the plan was foolish, that the dream was shallow, that the whole chapter was a mistake. Otherwise, they fear they will not be permitted to leave it. But completion does not always require condemnation. Something can have been right for you once and no longer be right now. Something can have been beautiful without being permanent. Something can have helped you grow and still be finished. You do not need to poison a memory in order to stop living inside it. You do not need to create anger where there is only completion. You do not need to rewrite your whole past as evidence of poor judgment. You were learning. You are still learning. That is not weakness. That is life moving through you. Sometimes the hardest person to receive permission from is the version of you who made the original promise. You remember saying, I am going to do this. You remember the certainty in your voice. You remember the private vow. You remember telling yourself that nothing would stop you. Now you may feel as though you owe that person an explanation. You may imagine them looking at you with disappointment. What happened to us? Why did you stop? Were all those nights for nothing? You can answer without cruelty. You can say, I did not stop caring about you. I learned more. I learned what the road costs. I learned what the destination actually contains. I learned what I need now. I learned things you could not have known yet. I carried your hope as far as I could. I do not need to become exactly who you imagined in order to honor how hard you tried. There is tenderness in that. Your former self does not need to be defeated. Your present self does not need to be put on trial. You are one life meeting itself at different stages. Of course, your understanding changes. Of course, your priorities change. Of course, your nervous system responds differently after experience. Of course, some dreams become quieter once they have taught you what they were carrying underneath. Sometimes you thought you wanted the position, but underneath it you wanted respect. You thought you wanted the person, but underneath it you wanted closeness. You thought you wanted the money, but underneath it you wanted safety. You thought you wanted the audience, but underneath it you wanted to feel seen. You thought you wanted the achievement, but underneath it you wanted permission to believe you were enough. When the deeper need begins to be met differently, the original object can lose some of its power. This can be surprising. You spend years believing the object is the source. Then something shifts. You begin giving yourself more respect. You build safer relationships. You develop stronger boundaries. You stop measuring your worth through one external result. You become less willing to perform for approval. And suddenly, the old prize does not glitter in quite the same way. Again, this does not mean every fading desire is evidence of growth. Sometimes you are exhausted. Sometimes disappointment has numbed you. Sometimes fear disguises itself as indifference. Sometimes repeated rejection makes the mind protect itself by saying, I never wanted it anyway. Sometimes burnout needs rest before any major decision is made. Sometimes grief temporarily empties color from everything. Sometimes depression or another mental health concern can affect motivation and interest broadly, and support from a qualified professional may be important. There is no need to force one interpretation onto every experience. Your task is not to label yourself correctly within the next 5 minutes. Your task is smaller. Tell the truth about what is here. If there is grief, let it be grief. If there is exhaustion, call it exhaustion. If there is fear, name the fear without letting it become prophecy. If there is relief, do not immediately punish the relief. If there is curiosity about another direction, you do not need to turn that curiosity into a contract. If there is nothing but quiet, the quiet can remain quiet for a while. This kind of honesty can feel unfamiliar if you have spent years motivating yourself through pressure. Pressure always wants an answer. What is the plan? What is next? How will you fix this? How will you replace the dream? What goal will you set now? Who are you becoming? Can you explain it? Can you measure it? Can you prove it? But not every transition begins with a new plan. Some begin with an old plan losing its authority. That can be enough for one day. You may still complete responsibilities. You may still go to work. You may still keep promises that need to be kept. You may still take practical steps slowly and thoughtfully. But internally, you no longer have to scream at yourself for changing. You can stop treating every decrease in desire as a character defect. You can ask better questions. Does this path still feel alive, or do I only feel guilty when I imagine leaving it? Am I tired of the work, or am I tired of trying to become someone through the work? Would rest restore my interest, or does the thought of returning create a heaviness that feels older than fatigue? Do I still want the destination, or do I only want the years I invested to mean something? If no one knew I had ever wanted this, would I choose it again today? That final question can reveal a great deal. Not because the answer must dictate your future, because it removes the audience for a moment. No one to impress, no one to disappoint, no one keeping score, no one reminding you what you said 3 years ago. Just you meeting the desire as it exists now, not as it used to exist, not as it was supposed to exist, as it exists now. There may still be love there. There may still be genuine commitment. If so, that matters. You may discover that you are not finished at all. You are depleted and need a different pace. You may discover that you still want the destination, but no longer want the method you were using to reach it. You may discover that the dream is still yours, but the urgency was never yours. You may discover that your desire survives beautifully once fear and comparison are removed. Or you may discover something else. You may discover that you have been standing beside a closed chapter because you did not realize you were permitted to stop knocking. If that is true, you do not need to be ashamed. You stayed because something mattered. You stayed because hope mattered. You stayed because identity mattered. You stayed because effort mattered. You stayed because you wanted your life to mean something. You stayed because part of you believed persistence was always the noble choice. Now another kind of courage may be asking for your attention. Not the courage to run, not the courage to destroy, not the courage to make an announcement, the courage to see clearly, to look at what you once wanted without forcing your eyes to see it exactly as they did before. That is a different form of faithfulness. Faithfulness to reality as it is now. Faithfulness to the person you have become through everything you have lived. Faithfulness to the possibility that your life is not required to remain emotionally frozen around an old decision. There is a strange mercy in recognizing this. You do not have to drag every former dream into every future season. Some dreams were bridges, some were teachers, some were shelters, some were mirrors, some were temporary language for needs you did not yet know how to name, and some may still be yours. The point is not to throw them away. The point is to stop deciding their value solely by whether they stay forever. A season can matter without becoming a lifetime. A pursuit can shape you without owning you. A hope can be sincere without becoming permanent. You are not required to manufacture desire to prove that your past was meaningful. Your past already happened. It already shaped you. Its meaning does not depend on your willingness to repeat it indefinitely. There is something else here too. Sometimes you believe the thing itself has changed because your emotional response has changed. You look at the same goal and say, "Why does this seem different now?" You look at the same opportunity and say, "Why does it not excite me?" You look at the same future and say, "Why can I suddenly see problems I ignored before?" You look at the same situation and wonder whether you have become negative. But what if negativity is not the only explanation? What if clarity changes the appearance of things? What if experience reveals details that hope could not yet see? What if becoming safer inside yourself changes what you are willing to chase outside yourself? What if nothing has to be wrong with the dream for your relationship with it to change? You may be standing in front of something that has not moved at all. The plan may be the same. The opportunity may be the same. The person may be the same. The achievement may be the same. The promise attached to it may be exactly what it was before. And still, you see it differently. That does not automatically mean you have become unreliable. It may mean that the place from which you are seeing has changed. It may mean that a different kind of light has begun reaching parts of your life that were once harder to see. And before you decide what to keep, what to release, what to rebuild, or what to carry forward, it may help to understand what happens when the thing in front of you stays exactly where it is, while the light around it begins to change. Think of a room just before sunrise. Nothing in it has moved during the night. The chair's still where it was. The table has not shifted. The books remain on the shelf. The curtain hangs in the same place. The photograph on the wall has not changed its expression. Even the dust resting quietly on the windowsill has stayed where it settled. At 5 a.m, the room may look almost colorless. Gray walls, gray shapes, soft edges. Objects you know are there, but cannot yet see clearly. There is enough light to recognize the room, but not enough to see everything it contains. Then something begins. Not dramatically, no switch is thrown, no one enters, no furniture is rearranged. The room does not work harder to become visible. Morning arrives. A thin line of light touches the edge of the curtain, then the floor, then one corner of the table. A color you could not see 10 minutes earlier begins to appear. The wood becomes warmer. The wall that looked flat begins holding small variations of gold. The photograph catches a reflection. The same room starts telling a different visual story. Nothing has been replaced. The light has changed. And because the light has changed, your experience of what was already there changes with it. This is one way to understand what may be happening inside you now. You may not be looking at a completely different life. You may be looking at familiar things from a different inner light. The goal is still there. The relationship is still there. The ambition is still there. The old plan may still make perfect sense on paper, but something in you has become brighter, quieter, wiser, more tired of pretending, more aware of cost, more aware of time, more aware of what peace actually feels like. And under that new light, the same object can look different. This is not a defect in your vision. It may be the result of finally seeing more. There are desires that make sense under one kind of light. When you are lonely, being chosen can look like the answer to everything. When you feel unsafe, money can look like the only form of peace. When you feel unseen, recognition can look like proof that your life matters. When you feel behind, achievement can look like rescue. When you feel powerless, control can look like strength. When you feel uncertain about who you are, a clear identity can look like safety. There is no shame in this. You look from where you stand. Everyone does. And when where you stand changes, what you see changes too. The room is not betraying you because morning makes it look different. You are not betraying yourself because growth reveals details you could not see before. Maybe the dream was never false. Maybe your understanding of what it could give you was incomplete. That is very different. A younger version of you may have looked at success and seen freedom. Now you can see that a certain version of success also asks for constant availability, constant performance, constant comparison, or a pace your Odie no longer wants to maintain. The success itself did not suddenly become evil. You simply see more of the room. You see the beautiful chair. You also see that one leg is loose. You see the window. You also see the crack in the frame. You see the gold light. You also see the dust. Clarity is not pessimism. Clarity includes more information. That can feel uncomfortable because fantasy usually depends on selective lighting. It brightens the reward and leaves the cost in shadow. You picture the applause, not the pressure that may follow it. You picture the relationship, not the compromises you might make to keep it. You picture the house, not the financial strain. You picture the freedom of working for yourself, not the uncertainty. You picture the status of the title, not the daily work attached to it. You picture arriving. You do not always picture living there. Then experience brings morning. The edges become clearer. You begin asking different questions. Not, can I get it? But do I want the life required to keep it? Not, can I prove them wrong? But do I want my choices to keep being organized around people I'm trying to impress? Not, is this opportunity prestigious? But does this environment let me remain connected to myself? Not, will people admire this? But will I recognize my own life while living it? Those questions can change everything without changing a single object in the room. This is why forcing yourself to want something again can become so exhausting. You are asking your eyes to return to darkness after sunrise. You are trying to unsee what you now see. You are telling yourself that the crack in the frame is not there because it was not visible at midnight. You are insisting that the room must remain gray because gray was familiar. That kind of forcing creates a strange internal split. One part of you knows. Another part argues. One part says, "This does not feel the same." Another replies, "It has to." One part says, "I am tired." Another says, "Try harder." One part says, "I am not sure this belongs to me anymore." Another says, "You have invested too much to question it now." One part sees morning. Another keeps pulling the curtain closed. There is a cost to living that way. You begin distrusting your own perception. You start assuming every uncomfortable truth is sabotage. You call every hesitation fear. You call every boundary laziness. You call every change inconsistency. You call every new preference a distraction. Soon, you can no longer tell the difference between discipline and self-erasure. Discipline can be loving. Commitment can be powerful. There are many moments when continuing through temporary discomfort is exactly what helps a meaningful goal become real. But discipline is not the command to ignore every new piece of information. Commitment is not a promise to remain unchanged forever. Wisdom is not stubbornness with better language. Real commitment can ask questions. Real discipline can adapt. Real devotion can mature. A person training for a difficult profession may discover a different specialty that fits them better. A person building a business may realize the original model is consuming the life they hoped the business would create. A person pursuing a relationship may realize they were chasing reassurance more than partnership. A person working toward a certain body may discover that health feels very different from punishment. A person trying to become admired may realize that being at ease in private matters more than being impressive in public. These realizations are not automatically instructions to abandon everything. They are changes in light. You can look. You can gather information. You can take your time. You can speak with people you trust. You can separate a passing mood from a recurring truth. You can rest before deciding whether exhaustion has been distorting the picture. You can ask whether your lack of interest appears only around this one pursuit or across nearly every part of your life. You can observe patterns instead of demanding instant certainty. A room does not become fully visible at the first hint of dawn. The light grows. Details emerge. You do not need to decide the meaning of every shadow before the morning has finished arriving. There is kindness in giving yourself that amount of time. Some truths become clearer when they are not chased. You have probably experienced this before. You struggle with a decision for days. You think about it while brushing your teeth. You think about it while eating. You think about it while trying to work. You think about it in the middle of conversations. You write lists. You ask people. You imagine every possible outcome. The more you demand certainty, the less certain you feel. Then there is a quiet moment when you are doing something ordinary, walking, folding clothes, sitting near a window. And the answer does not arrive as a dramatic sentence. You only realize your body becomes lighter when you imagine one direction, or heavier when you imagine another. Not proof, not prophecy, just information. A different part of the room becoming visible. You are allowed to collect those moments. You are allowed to let clarity accumulate. Not everything has to be solved by intensity. This is important because many people learn to trust urgency more than quiet knowing. Urgency feels convincing. It raises its voice. It gives deadlines. It demands immediate action. Quiet knowing often sounds almost unimpressive. I do not think I want that anymore. I think I need a different pace. I think I am tired of proving this. I think I want less, but I want it to feel like mine. I think my definition of enough is changing. Those sentences do not always produce adrenaline. They may even feel anticlimactic. Yet a quieter truth can be more durable than a loud promise. Mourning does not shout at the room. It reveals it. You do not have to become dramatic to become honest. You may only need to stop arguing with every new thing you see. Look at the old dream again, not to judge it. Let it sit where it sits. Look at the parts that still feel alive. Look at the parts you are trying to revive through memory. Look at the parts that belong to your values. Look at the parts that belong to an audience. Look at the parts that reflect who you are. Look at the parts that were built around fear of being ordinary. There is no punishment waiting inside this examination. You are not grading your past. You are learning the shape of your present. Sometimes what remains is more beautiful than the original dream. You may discover that beneath the desire for a huge life is a very simple longing. Time that belongs to you. Work you respect. A home that feels safe. Relationships where you do not perform. Enough money to breathe. A body you treat as a companion rather than a project. Mornings that do not begin with dread. Evenings you can inhabit without feeling that you should be somewhere else. That may not be the image that impressed you years ago. It may be closer to what you actually want now. And there can be grief in admitting that, because we do not only grieve people and places, we can grieve identities. We can grieve futures. We can grieve the person we expected to become. You may have imagined yourself arriving somewhere by a certain age. You may have thought you would own something by now, build something, be married, be known, be completely healed, be completely confident. Never struggle with this again. You may have created a timeline so precise that anything outside it felt like failure. Then life changed the lighting. You learned how little control you have over some timing. You learned that certain achievements do not repair old pain. You learned that relationships cannot be forced into safety. You learned that healing does not move in a straight line. You learned that confidence can coexist with uncertainty. You learned that being successful does not exempt a person from loneliness. You learned that someone can look like they have everything and still be disconnected from themselves. New information enters the room. The old image changes. This can feel like losing innocence. Sometimes it is. But innocence is not the only beautiful way to see. There is also discernment. There is tenderness informed by experience. There is hope that does not require fantasy. There is ambition that does not require self-punishment. There is love that does not require you to disappear. There is faith that can survive unanswered questions. There is a way of wanting things without making your worth depend on receiving them. That is a different light. You may not have had access to it before. You may have needed the old kind of motivation. You may have needed a dream big enough to pull you through a difficult period. You may have needed to imagine another city while living somewhere that felt too small. You may have needed to imagine another career while waking each morning to work that drained you. You may have needed to imagine someone loving you while you were learning how to stop accepting neglect. You may have needed to imagine financial abundance while fear about money occupied your mind. The dream may have functioned like a lamp in a dark room. It helped you see enough to keep moving. Do not insult the lamp because sunrise came. Its purpose mattered. You can thank what helped you without worshiping it forever. This is one of the softer forms of release, not rejection, recognition. That mattered. That carried me. That gave me language. That got me through. And now I am seeing more. You do not need to say, I was stupid. You can say, I was becoming. You do not need to say, I chose wrong. You can say, I chose from what I knew. You do not need to say, I wasted years. You can say, those years contained information I could not have learned from a distance. There is a maturity in refusing to reduce your life to winners and losers. Not every chapter must produce the outcome you expected in order to have value. Sometimes the outcome is the person who leaves the chapter, more perceptive, more grounded, less easily impressed by appearances, more aware of what peace costs and what it does not, more careful with attention, less willing to trade years of life for approval, less willing to call suffering proof of commitment, more willing to change direction before resentment becomes permanent. You might be closer to that person than you realize. And because this version of you is different, the room cannot look exactly the same. The light you stand in is part of what you see. Consider something you once believed would make you happy. Not a small preference, something substantial, something you attached a lot of meaning to. Remember how you used to picture it, how simple the equation seemed. If I get this, then I will feel that. If I reach this number, then I will feel secure. If this person chooses me, then I will feel lovable. If I achieve this, then I will feel proud. If I become this version of myself, then I will finally relax. The equation may have kept you moving. Then perhaps you received part of what you wanted, or you watched someone else receive it, or you learned enough about it to see what comes after the moment of arrival. The simple equation started becoming more complicated. Security did not come entirely from the number. Love did not become permanent because someone chose you. Pride did not erase old insecurity. Success created new responsibilities. The body changed and the mind found another flaw. The applause faded. The title became ordinary. The new place became home, then eventually became another place where laundry had to be done and bills had to be paid. Life kept being life. This realization can feel disappointing at first, but it can also free you, because if no single external thing carries the full responsibility for your inner life, then you can stop asking one dream to save you. You can still want. You can still build. You can still create. You can still move toward what feels meaningful, but the wanting becomes cleaner, less desperate, less loaded, less like a final verdict on whether your life matters. You begin saying, I would love this, rather than I cannot be okay without this. That difference changes the chase. And sometimes, once desperation leaves, you discover that the desire itself leaves too. That can be revealing. You may realize you wanted something mainly because it represented escape. Once your life becomes less painful, you no longer need the same fantasy. You may realize you wanted someone because their attention temporarily silenced your self-doubt. Once you begin treating yourself with more respect, their attention loses some of its power. You may realize you wanted to outperform everyone because being ordinary felt unsafe. Once you no longer believe your worth must be exceptional to be real, constant competition becomes less interesting. Nothing had to be destroyed. The light changed. There is another side to this. Sometimes changing light reveals that the dream is still yours. Only the fear attached to it is not. You may look again and realize, yes, I still care. But I no longer want to chase it from panic. I no longer want to sacrifice sleep to prove I deserve it. I no longer want every delay to feel like humiliation. I no longer want to compare my path with everyone else's. I no longer want this goal to become the judge of my value. That is not losing the dream. That is changing your relationship with it. The room is still there. The light is healthier. And suddenly, you can see how to inhabit the space without being consumed by it. This is why you do not have to decide too quickly whether you are outgrowing the goal itself or only the way you learn to pursue it. Those are different things. Maybe you still love the work. You just do not love exhaustion. Maybe you still want partnership. You just do not want to audition for affection. Maybe you still want financial growth. You just do not want fear to control every decision. Maybe you still want to create. You just do not want numbers to determine whether the creation deserves to exist. Maybe you still want to improve your health. You just do not want self-disgust to be the fuel. You can keep the furniture and open the curtain. You can keep the destination and change the pace. You can keep the value and release the performance. You can keep the dream and release the desperation. There is no rule that says growth must take everything away. Sometimes growth gives something back to you in a cleaner form. A desire that once felt like pressure becomes preference. A goal that once felt like proof becomes possibility. A relationship that once felt like rescue becomes companionship. Work that once felt like identity becomes one meaningful part of a larger life. You get to exist outside the thing. That can be one of the most healing realizations of all. You are larger than what you pursue. You are larger than what you finish. You are larger than what you leave unfinished. You are larger than the person who chose you or did not choose you. Larger than the job title. Larger than the amount. Larger than the timeline. Larger than the chapter. Nothing you chase is big enough to contain your entire identity, and nothing you outgrow can take your entire identity with it. This matters when you are afraid of the empty space. You may think that if the old dream goes, there will be nothing left. But look again. The dream was in the room. It was never the whole room. There were other things around it, even when darkness made them hard to see. Other values, other abilities, other relationships, other curiosities, other ways of being useful, other forms of joy, other questions, other directions that may not yet have names. Mourning does not only reveal what you no longer want. It reveals what had been hidden while one desire occupied all your attention. That is part of why transition can contain relief and grief at the same time. You are saying goodbye to certainty. You are also gaining space. You are losing one familiar answer. You are becoming available for better questions. You are releasing one picture. Your eyes are becoming capable of seeing more of the room. This does not mean the next direction appears immediately. Sometimes the space remains open for a while. That can be uncomfortable if you have learned to feel safe only when pursuing. You may try to fill the space quickly. A new target, a new person, a new project, a new identity, a new obsession. Anything to avoid the feeling of not knowing. But an empty part of the room does not need to be filled on the first morning. You can leave space. You can live beside uncertainty without treating it as an emergency. You can let your preferences return slowly. You can become curious about what draws your attention when no one is telling you what should matter. What do you read when you are not trying to improve yourself? What conversations make time disappear? What kind of work leaves you tired but satisfied instead of depleted and resentful? What makes your body soften rather than brace? What kind of people make it easier to tell the truth? What do you care about even when there is no applause? What do you keep returning to without forcing yourself? These questions are not another test. They are windows. You do not need perfect answers. A glimpse is enough. Sometimes you find the next direction through very small signals. You start taking longer walks. You become interested in cooking again. You want fewer possessions. You want deeper conversations. You become less interested in being seen and more interested in being present. You begin choosing slower mornings. You find yourself protecting your weekends. You stop wanting to explain everything. You become more interested in health than appearance, more interested in stability than excitement, more interested in meaningful work than impressive work, more interested in people who are consistent than people who are dazzling. These shifts may look ordinary from the outside. Inside, they can represent a complete rearrangement of values. This is how a life can change before its circumstances change. The room remains the same, but the colors are different. And once you have seen those colors, it becomes difficult to pretend they are not there. You may still return to the old gray interpretation out of habit. That is normal. Habit remembers where things used to be emotionally. You may wake on one morning feeling completely clear, then feel confused the next. You may believe you have released something, then suddenly miss it. You may feel relieved for a week, then encounter a memory that pulls you backward. None of this means the clarity was false. Morning itself changes minute by minute. A cloud passes, one corner becomes dimmer, another brightens. Light moves across the floor. Seeing differently is not always a straight progression. You can have clarity and grief. You can outgrow something and still miss it. You can know a chapter has changed and still love who you were inside it. You can stop wanting the future and still feel tender toward the dream. These truths can live together. They do not cancel one another. That is especially important when a relationship to a person is involved. Outgrowing a dynamic does not require hatred. Recognizing incompatibility does not erase good memories. Choosing a boundary does not mean every moment was false. You can care and still choose distance. You can forgive and still decide not to return. You can appreciate what someone meant to you without giving them permanent access to you. You can stop chasing closure when continued contact keeps reopening what needs space. Light does not ask the room to become cruel before it becomes clear. Neither do you. Clarity can be kind. Boundaries can be kind. Leaving can be kind. Staying can be kind when staying is safe, mutual, and honest. The question is not what looks most loyal from the outside. The question is what is true, safe, and sustainable in the light you have now. The same applies to work. A career that once gave you purpose may begin feeling narrow. A business you built may need to change. A role that once felt like a dream may become something you have learned enough from. You do not have to make reckless decisions to honor this realization. You can plan, save money, explore options, speak to people with expertise, update skills, create a transition, gather evidence, make choices with care. Inner truth and practical wisdom do not oppose each other. Seeing the room clearly does not mean setting it on fire. Sometimes you move one chair, sometimes you open a window, sometimes you repaint, sometimes you stay exactly where you are and relate to the room differently. And sometimes, after enough time, you realize you are ready to leave. The metaphor is not telling you which action is correct. It is giving you permission to look. That may be the most important permission you have denied yourself. Permission to see what you see. Permission to admit that something feels different. Permission to be curious before being certain. Permission to stop calling every change a failure. You have spent enough time believing that growth should make you want more. More success, more recognition, more productivity, more achievement, more proof. But growth can also change what more means. More time, more presence, more integrity, more rest, more truth, more space to think, more relationships where you can breathe, more work that leaves room for your actual life, more mornings that belong to you, more decisions made from steadiness instead of fear. A smaller external life can sometimes hold a much larger internal one. A quieter ambition can sometimes be more honest than a louder one. A goal does not become meaningful because it is impressive. It becomes meaningful because it connects with something real in you. And if that connection changes, you are permitted to learn from the change. This is the part many people resist. Because if you admit you see differently, you may have to admit that some choices made under the old light no longer fit. You may have to disappoint an expectation. You may have to revise a plan. You may have to say, I know I told you this is what I wanted. You may have to tolerate someone misunderstanding you. You may have to stop receiving the identity benefits that came with being the person who is going to. That can hurt. The room may be brighter, but brightness does not erase courage. Seeing clearly can require courage, because clarity may ask you to release the protection of an old story. Still, there is no need to rush toward that moment. For now, stay with the simpler truth. You are allowed to see differently. Say those words inside yourself. I am allowed to see differently, not decide differently yet. Decide, not act differently yet. See differently. There is space between perception and action. That space is where discernment lives. That space lets you ask whether the new light is revealing truth, temporary exhaustion, fear, grief, or something else. That space keeps you from confusing emotional relief with impulsive escape. It also keeps you from confusing habit with commitment. You can remain there long enough to become more honest. And when you do, something subtle begins to happen. The question changes. You stop asking, "What is wrong with me that I do not want this the way I used to?" You begin asking, "What am I seeing now that I could not see before?" That is a kinder question. It is also a more useful one. Maybe you see the cost. Maybe you see your deeper need. Maybe you see the role fear played. Maybe you see how much of your ambition belonged to comparison. Maybe you see that you still care, but in a less frantic way. Maybe you see that the thing you wanted has already taught you what you needed to learn. Maybe you see that your life is asking to become wider than one old goal. Whatever appears, you can meet it without turning yourself into the enemy. You do not need an accusation. You need light. And as more of that light enters, one sentence may begin to become possible, not as a command, not as something you have to believe perfectly, as a new way of naming what might be happening. You are not looking at a ruined room. You are looking at familiar things under a morning that did not exist before. And there comes a moment when the deepest question is no longer whether you can force yourself back into yesterday's vision. It is whether you are willing to trust what becomes visible when you stop pulling the curtain closed. There is a reason this can feel so much like failure, even when something wiser may be happening beneath the surface. Failure is easier to understand than transformation. Failure gives the mind a familiar explanation. You stopped because you were not disciplined enough. You changed direction because you could not handle difficulty. You lost interest because something is wrong with you. You are behind because you did not stay committed. These explanations may hurt, but they are simple. They close the question. Growth is less convenient. Growth asks you to consider that the person who created the goal may not be identical to the person standing here now. It asks you to accept that a sincere decision can become outdated without becoming foolish. It asks you to recognize that your own awareness can change the meaning of what you see. And once you accept that possibility, life becomes less mechanical. You can no longer measure yourself only by whether you completed every plan exactly as it was first imagined. You have to listen. You have to discern. You have to become involved in your own life again. That can be frightening when you have learned to use achievement as proof that you are doing life correctly. Completion feels measurable. Transformation often does not. You can put a certificate on the wall. You cannot hang a frame around the moment you realized you no longer need someone's approval. You can show people a promotion. You cannot easily show them that you stopped abandoning your peace for recognition. You can announce a purchase. You cannot photograph the internal moment when enough changed meaning for you. You can count milestones. You cannot always count freedom. And because the world often rewards what can be seen, you may overlook the significance of what is becoming visible only to you. The room is growing brighter. Yet instead of looking around, you may still be searching for the old light switch. You may think, if I could just become motivated again, everything would return to normal. You try music, you try routines, you try visualization. You remind yourself why you started. Sometimes that works because the desire was never gone. It was buried beneath exhaustion. But sometimes every attempt to revive the old intensity teaches you the same lesson. You can create motion. You cannot create truth by force. There is a difference between warming your hands near a fading fire and pretending ashes are still flames. You deserve enough honesty to know the difference. Not immediately, not perfectly, but eventually. You may begin to recognize it through the way your mind behaves around the goal. A living desire can be difficult and still contain some form of energy. You may resist the work, but something in you continues to care about the direction. You may become discouraged, but imagining the possibility still reaches you. There is still a relationship between your values and the path. A fading desire often feels different. You are not merely resisting the work. You are repeatedly trying to convince yourself that the destination matters. There is a subtle emptiness around the imagined reward. You think about getting what you once wanted, and instead of expansion, you feel obligation. Instead of curiosity, duty. Instead of nervous excitement, an almost administrative feeling. I suppose I should still want this. That word should can reveal a great deal. Should is often the language we use when the original desire has been replaced by an expectation. I should want to be further ahead. I should want a bigger house. I should want to keep climbing. I should want this relationship to work because I have invested so much. I should want the title because people respect it. I should want more attention. I should want to prove myself. I should want the life that once impressed me. But a life cannot be lived well through should alone. Responsibility matters. Commitments matter. Other people matter. Consequences matter. You are part of a world, not an isolated wish. Yet underneath practical responsibility, there is still a private question. What is true? You can fulfill an obligation while admitting that your relationship with it has changed. You can make a careful transition without pretending you are still emotionally where you were. You can act responsibly without lying to yourself. Those things belong together. This is where the dawn image becomes more than a beautiful thought. Imagine that the room is now brighter than before. You can see the corner that was hidden. There is an old box there. You had forgotten about it. Nothing magical happened to create the box. It was always present. Darkness only made it easy to overlook. Awareness can work like this. A truth may have been in your life for months before you were ready to see it clearly. Perhaps you knew you were exhausted. Perhaps you knew the relationship was asking you to become smaller. Perhaps you knew the goal belonged partly to your family's expectation. Perhaps you knew you were chasing an image because you feared what people would think if you stopped. Perhaps you knew the lifestyle attached to the dream did not actually suit you. The knowledge was there like the box in the corner. Then morning came far enough for you to see it. What happens next? Often, the first response is not relief. It is resistance. You wish you could unsee it. You tell yourself you are overthinking. You move the box mentally back into shadow. You create new reasons not to examine it. You stay busier. You distract yourself. You search for another motivational voice. You compare yourself to people who seem more certain. You decide their certainty must be more valid than your confusion. But another person's light cannot replace your own. They may genuinely belong on the path you are questioning. Their enthusiasm can be real. Their success can be real. Their calling can be real. None of that proves you are required to want what they want. 10 people can stand in the same room and be drawn to 10 different things. One sees the books. One sees the view. One notices the music playing softly. One notices the old table. One wants to open the window. One wants to sit quietly. Difference does not make any of them wrong. Why then would your changing attention automatically make you defective? Attention is one of the ways your inner life speaks. It is not infallible. It can be influenced by fear, exhaustion, trauma, distraction, habit, hormones, stress, grief, and countless other factors. But it is still worth listening to. You do not have to obey every passing feeling. You also do not have to dismiss every recurring one. There is wisdom in the middle. The middle says, I will pay attention before I decide. The middle says, I can take my feelings seriously without making them absolute. The middle says, I can gather information. I can rest. I can ask for help. I can test a different pace. I can look again in a week. I can speak honestly with someone I trust. I can separate a temporary wave from a deeper pattern. This is not indecision. It is discernment. A frightened mind often wants only 2 choices: force or quit, push or collapse, stay forever or leave tonight, succeed or fail. But your life contains more doors than that. You can pause without abandoning. You can adjust without betraying. You can explore without committing. You can reduce pressure without reducing care. You can complete a responsibility while preparing for change. You can remain while gathering clarity. You can leave carefully. You can stay differently. You can renegotiate. You can ask questions. You can discover that the thing itself is not the problem. The way you have been carrying it is. Morning reveals options that darkness could not show. That is why losing interest can feel destabilizing before it feels liberating. You thought there were only two possibilities: get the dream or fail to get it. Now a third possibility appears. You may become someone who no longer needs the dream in the same form. That changes the entire equation. Suddenly, the old scoreboard cannot tell you whether you are winning. What if you never reach the destination because you consciously choose another road? What if you technically could achieve something but no longer believe the cost is worth paying? What if the definition of success itself changes? The old system has no category for that, so it calls it failure. But your deeper life may call it clarity. This is the answer hiding beneath those first questions. Why can losing desire feel so painful, even when you are outgrowing something? Because you are not only releasing the desire, you are losing the measurement system that came with it. For years, perhaps you knew how to evaluate yourself. Closer meant better, more meant better, progress meant good, delay meant bad, approval meant success, rejection meant failure, achievement meant worth. The old dream gave you coordinates. Now those coordinates may no longer lead where you want to go. No wonder you feel disoriented. The compass has not necessarily broken. You may be changing destinations. There is a great difference. A broken compass cannot guide you. A changed destination requires you to read the compass differently. You are not required to know the new destination today. You can begin by recognizing that the old direction no longer deserves unquestioned authority. That recognition alone may be enough to loosen something inside you. You do not need to keep calling yourself a failure because an old map no longer describes the territory. You are allowed to update what you know. You update practical things all the time. You change a route when a road is closed. You replace information when new evidence appears. You adjust a budget when circumstances change. You change your schedule when your responsibilities change. You learn that a method that worked 5 years ago no longer works today. Why should your inner life be the one place where no revision is permitted? You are alive. Therefore, you are revisable, not unstable, alive. There are parts of you that remain deeply consistent even while their expression changes. You may have wanted prestige because you value contribution. Later, you may express contribution through quieter work. You may have wanted wealth because you value freedom. Later, you may discover freedom also involves needing less. You may have wanted admiration because you value connection. Later, you may prefer 5 honest relationships to 5,000 distant eyes. The underlying value can remain while the form changes. This is important because it shows you that outgrowing a goal does not always mean becoming less ambitious. Sometimes the ambition becomes more precise. You stop wanting everything that looks impressive. You become selective. You stop chasing whatever can be measured. You begin caring about what can be lived. You stop asking, "How large can this become?" You ask, Can I live peacefully inside what I am building? You stop asking, will they understand? You ask, will I understand myself? You stop asking, will this make me look successful? You ask, does this life feel honest when nobody is watching? These are not smaller questions. They are deeper ones. They can rearrange the entire room. And sometimes, my dear, this is where grief appears. Because becoming more honest does not mean becoming emotionless. You may know a dream is changing and still cry for it. You may know you do not want to return and still miss who you were there. You may know someone cannot meet you where you need to be met and still feel love. You may know a career has become too narrow and still be proud of everything you built. You may know an old identity is finished and still feel tenderness when someone calls you by that name. Outgrowing is not the absence of love. It is the recognition that love does not always require continuation. You can love a chapter without rereading it forever. You can love a room and still need another home. You can honor a former dream without making it responsible for your future. That is not coldness. That is maturity. The morning light does not insult the darkness. It does not say the night was wrong. Night had its place. You rested there. You dreamed there. You waited there. Some things can only be heard in quiet darkness. Then the hour changes. The light changes. The room changes in your perception. You do not stand at the window demanding that dawn apologize for arriving. Your own development does not need to apologize either. This does not mean every new feeling is automatically wiser than every old commitment grow. It is not permission to become careless with other people. It is not a spiritual excuse to avoid consequences. It is not a reason to make impulsive decisions and call them alignment. The new light deserves the same honesty as the old desire. You ask questions. You look at patterns. You consider impact. You take responsibility. You distinguish between freedom and avoidance. Sometimes the courageous act is leaving. Sometimes the courageous act is remaining long enough to work through fear. Sometimes the courageous act is asking for support before you decide anything at all. There is no universal answer hidden in this metaphor. There is only an invitation to stop treating change as proof of defect, because that accusation makes clear seeing harder. If every new feeling is immediately punished, you learn to hide from yourself. You become skilled at producing acceptable answers rather than truthful ones. How are things going? Great. Still working toward it? Absolutely. Do you still want this? Of course. You say these things before consulting your own body. Then one day you realize everyone knows your plan except you. Everyone recognizes your role except you. Everyone can describe what you are chasing, but no one has asked whether the chase still belongs to your heart. You can ask now, quietly. without requiring an answer suitable for anyone else. What remains alive? What feels inherited? What feels performed? What feels peaceful? What feels heavy because it is difficult, and what feels heavy because it is no longer yours? What would remain meaningful even if nobody applauded? What are you afraid would happen if you admitted your desire has changed? Perhaps that last question opens something. Maybe you are not afraid of losing the dream. Maybe you are afraid of losing the identity attached to it, the ambitious one, the loyal one, the successful one, the future doctor, the future founder, the future spouse, the person who never gives up, the one who proves everyone wrong, the strong one, the one with the plan. If you release the old destination, who are you without the label? You may not know. That unknown can tempt you back into familiar suffering. At least an old identity tells you who to be, but you do not need a new label immediately. You can be a person in transition. You can be someone learning. You can be someone whose values are becoming clearer. You can live for a while without a polished explanation. There is dignity in that. You do not have to turn every stage of growth into branding. Some parts of your life are allowed to remain private while they become real. You can say, I am reconsidering, I am listening, I am not certain yet, I am giving myself time. These are complete sentences. You do not owe everyone a finished philosophy, and perhaps you do not owe yourself one today either. You may only need a different sentence when the old accusation returns, because it will return. You may wake tomorrow and feel foolish for everything you understood tonight. You may see someone achieving the thing you are questioning and suddenly feel behind. You may watch a friend celebrate a milestone you once wanted and wonder whether you made a mistake by becoming less interested. You may feel jealousy. You may feel grief. You may feel relief and jealousy in the same hour. Human emotions are not courtroom evidence. You can feel envy without receiving instructions from it. You can miss something without needing it back. You can wonder what if without reversing direction. You can be proud of someone whose path no longer matches yours. When the old accusation returns, you can answer it differently. Not with a speech, with one line. I am not failing. I am seeing my life in a new light. Let those words sit there. You do not have to make them larger than they are. I am not failing. I am seeing my life in a new light. Say it again, more gently. I am not failing. I am seeing my life in a new light. There may be one word in that sentence that your mind resists. Failing. Perhaps part of you says, but what if I really did fail? Perhaps something did not work. Perhaps you did abandon something prematurely. Perhaps you made a choice you would not make today. Perhaps you ignored advice. Perhaps you stayed too long. Perhaps you left too quickly. Perhaps an opportunity ended because you were not ready. You do not need to rewrite reality to practice self-respect. Seeing your life in a new light does not mean pretending every decision was perfect. You can admit a mistake without becoming a mistake. You can acknowledge failure in one situation without defining your entire identity as failure. You can learn from what did not work. You can make amends where appropriate. You can take responsibility. You can grow. The affirmation is not saying nothing has ever gone wrong. It is saying this present change in me does not automatically prove that I am wrong. That distinction matters. It creates room for responsibility without shame. You can say, I would handle that differently now, and still continue. You can say, I should have spoken sooner, and still continue. You can say, I stayed because I was afraid, and still continue. You can say, I left because I was overwhelmed, and still continue. Learning does not require self-hatred. Truth does not require punishment. If the full affirmation feels too far from where you are, do not force it. Use a smaller doorway. I am willing to see that a change in desire does not have to mean something is wrong with me. That is enough. Willingness is quieter than certainty. It does not ask you to pretend. You do not have to believe that everything is unfolding perfectly. You do not have to call every ending a blessing. You do not have to smile at disappointment. You can begin with willingness. I am willing to see this differently. I am willing to stop attacking myself for changing. I am willing to learn what this feeling is telling me. I am willing to let clarity arrive at its own pace. This kind of willingness can soften the internal fight. And when the fight softens, you can hear more. You may hear that you need rest rather than reinvention. You may hear that you need a conversation. You may hear that you need practical advice. You may hear that you need to grieve. You may hear that you have been lonely. You may hear that a relationship is harming you. You may hear that work has become unsustainable. You may hear that your motivation has disappeared across many parts of life, not only around one old goal. That information deserves care. Affirmations can support reflection and emotional well-being, but they are not a replacement for medical care, mental health care, legal guidance, financial guidance, or other qualified professional support when those are needed. Peace does not mean remaining in a situation where you are being harmed. Love does not require you to surrender your safety. Compassion does not mean giving another person unlimited access to you. Boundaries can be an expression of love for your own life. Reaching toward trusted friends, supportive community, or qualified professionals can be a form of strength. If your loss of interest has spread across nearly everything you usually care about, if daily functioning has become difficult, or if your emotional state is frightening or persistent, you deserve support beyond a beautiful sentence. There is no failure in that either. You do not have to solve every human experience alone. the room can contain other people. Someone can help you open a curtain you have been struggling with. Someone can stand beside you while your eyes adjust. Someone with the right training can help you understand what you are seeing. Support does not take your inner wisdom away. Good support can help you hear it more clearly. You remain the person living your life. You remain allowed to ask questions. You remain allowed to protect yourself. You remain allowed to change. And if what you are experiencing is not a crisis, but a quieter shift in identity, you still do not need to turn it into a spiritual drama. You can make breakfast, go to work, answer the necessary messages, walk the dog, pay the bill, meet a friend, do what belongs to the day. Growth can happen while ordinary life continues. You do not need candles, perfect silence, or a dramatic declaration for a real internal change to count. One of the deepest changes can happen while you are standing in a supermarket deciding what to cook. You suddenly realize you have not thought about the old goal all afternoon. Instead of panicking, you let that fact exist. There, a little more light. Another day, you hear someone mention the opportunity you once wanted. Your body does not tighten. You are genuinely happy for them. There, more light. Later, you look at an old photograph and feel affection instead of longing. More light. Or perhaps the opposite happens. You revisit the dream after giving yourself space and realize there is still a living spark there. You understand that you did not need to release the dream. You needed to release the punishment around it. That is light too. The purpose is not to lead you toward one predetermined conclusion. The purpose is clarity. Your life does not need to become smaller. It needs to become truer. Sometimes truer means expanding, sometimes simplifying, sometimes staying, sometimes leaving, sometimes trying again, sometimes admitting that you are finished. No affirmation should decide that for you. No voice outside you should make that decision without the reality of your circumstances. The best a reflection like this can do is help you become quiet enough to stop confusing shame with guidance. Shame says, "Do not change or everyone will know you were wrong." Guidance asks, "What is true now?" Shame says, "You wasted the years." Guidance asks, "What did the years teach you?" Shame says, "You have to finish because you started." Guidance asks, "What does integrity require at this stage?" Shame speaks in accusations. Clarity tends to ask better questions. And perhaps you are beginning to understand why the old pursuit has become quieter. Not necessarily because your ability to care is disappearing. Maybe your care has become more selective. Maybe you no longer want to spend your life proving that you deserve to occupy it. Maybe you are less fascinated by what shines from far away. Maybe you are learning to examine what something feels like from inside. This is a major change. The person who chooses a house based only on how it looks from the street may choose differently after learning what it means to live inside one. The person who chooses a life based only on how it appears to others may also change after learning what it means to inhabit that life every day. You have to inhabit your choices. Other people mostly see the exterior. They see the title, the photographs, the announcement, the status, the outcome. You live with the hours. You live with the pace. You live with the emotional cost. You live with what the choice asks from your body. You live with what it gives you when no one is looking. You live inside the room. That gives your experience weight, not absolute authority, but weight. You are permitted to include it in your decisions. You are permitted to say, "This looked beautiful from outside, but living here has taught me something." You are permitted to learn. And when you begin granting yourself that permission, the old dream can become less threatening. You no longer have to clutch it or reject it. You can look at it. You can appreciate what is still beautiful. You can acknowledge what no longer fits. You can stop asking it to become something it was never capable of becoming. You can stop asking it to prove your worth. Perhaps that is the first real release. Not losing the object, losing the demand that the object tell you who you are. Then a dream can become a dream again. A relationship can become a relationship. A career can become work. Money can become a resource. Recognition can become pleasant rather than necessary. An achievement can become meaningful without becoming your identity. The room becomes a room. You become the person standing inside it. And there is still one question waiting for you. If a dream no longer looks the way it once did under the new light, what do you actually do with it? Do you carry it forward, change it, set it down, leave it untouched for a while, thank it, return to it differently? You do not need the answer yet. There is another part of the morning still to come. Before you decide what belongs in your hands, there is a promise you may need to make about the light itself. Not a promise about the outcome. Not a promise that you will leave. Not a promise that you will stay. Not a promise that tomorrow will bring certainty. A promise that you will stop punishing yourself for seeing what you see. Because when clarity begins to arrive, the temptation is often to negotiate with it. You tell yourself you can look honestly as long as the truth does not inconvenience anyone. You can listen to yourself as long as the answer matches the plan. You can grow as long as growth does not change the future you already announced. You can become more aware as long as awareness leaves all the furniture exactly where everyone expects it to remain. That is not really permission. That is permission with conditions. And some of the deepest changes in your life may begin when those conditions loosen. You do not need to trust every emotion immediately. You do not need to make every instinct a command. But you can trust yourself enough to look. You can look at the room in the light available now. You can let it be different. That is the beginning of the vow. Not the dramatic kind you make when adrenaline is high and you want to transform your entire life before breakfast. A quieter vow. A vow that can survive an ordinary Tuesday. A vow you can remember when doubt returns. A vow that does not force the next chapter, only the seeing. I will stand in the new light and let the room change color without forcing it back to gray. Let the words arrive slowly. I will stand, in the new light and let the room change color without forcing it back to gray. There is no demand in that sentence that you know what comes next. You are only agreeing not to darken the room on purpose because darkness feels familiar. You are agreeing not to deny what your own experience has taught you. You are agreeing that if the goal looks different now, you will not immediately call yourself broken. If the relationship looks different now, you will not automatically assume love requires you to ignore what you see. If success looks different now, you will not force your definition backward to satisfy an older image. If your pace changes, you will not make speed the only evidence that you still care. If a desire becomes quieter, you will listen before accusing. Stand in the light, that is all. You do not have to solve the entire room. There may be things you still cannot see clearly. There may be corners where shadow remains. There may be objects you misunderstand. There may be colors that look different again tomorrow. Clarity is not omniscience. You are still human. You are still learning. You can make a thoughtful decision and later discover new information. You can choose with integrity without having a guarantee. That is what makes change so vulnerable. You want certainty before you move. Life rarely offers it. Instead, you receive enough light for the next honest step. Sometimes the next step is action. Sometimes it is waiting. Sometimes it is a conversation. Sometimes it is research. Sometimes it is one night of sleep before making a decision. Sometimes it is admitting that you are not ready to decide. The vow does not tell you what the next step must be. It keeps you from lying about the view. That alone can change how you move through your day. Imagine waking tomorrow. Before your feet touch the floor, the old pressure may return. The familiar list appears. What should I be doing? What should I be achieving? How far behind am I? What have I not fixed? Who is ahead of me? What goal should I still care about? You do not need to answer all of that. Look at the room. Morning enters 1 minute at a time. You can do the same. Sit on the edge of the bed if that is where you are. Feel the floor beneath your feet, not as a ritual you must perform correctly, just as a reminder that you are here. This day is here. The person who made the old plan is part of you. The person waking now is also you. Neither one needs to be rejected. You can get dressed without deciding your entire future. You can choose a shirt, brush your teeth, make coffee or tea, open the curtain, let an ordinary morning remain ordinary. This matters more than it sounds. When identity is shifting, the mind can make every small moment feel like evidence. If you enjoy your breakfast, does that mean you have become complacent? If you skip one task, does that it mean you have given up? If you feel excited about something new, does that mean you were dishonest about the old dream? No. A moment is a moment. You do not have to interrogate every breath. Let the day carry some of your uncertainty. You do not have to carry all of it at once. As you prepare for work, study, caregiving, errands, or whatever the day asks of you, you may encounter reminders of the old goal. A notebook, an email, a photograph, a saved document, a name, a notification, a calendar entry. Something small can reopen the entire question. Before you react, return to the vow. I will stand in the new light and let the room change color without forcing it back to gray. Then ask one practical question. What is actually required of me today? Not forever. Today. There may still be a responsibility to complete. Do it. There may be a call you promised to make. Make it. There may be a deadline that still matters while you are reconsidering the larger path. Meet it if you reasonably can. Inner change does not erase practical responsibility. In fact, clarity can make responsibility cleaner. You stop using confusion as an excuse. You also stop using responsibility as an excuse to remain emotionally dishonest. You do what belongs to today without pretending it determines the rest of your life. That can create a surprising amount of space. Suppose you are driving to work. The road is familiar. You know the turns. Your body may know them so well that you barely think about where you are going. This is how old goals can live inside you. The route becomes automatic. You wake, you move, you pursue. You rarely ask whether you still want to arrive. Today, you do not need to turn the car around. You only need to recognize that automatic movement is not the same as conscious choice. That realization can sit beside you. You can arrive, park, walk inside. Do what needs to be done and quietly observe. Which parts of the day still feel meaningful? Which parts drain you because they are temporarily difficult? Which parts drain you because they conflict with something important in you? Who do you become around certain people? Do you become more honest, more guarded, more alive, more performative, more afraid? You are not collecting evidence for a prosecution. You are gathering light. There is a difference. A prosecutor has already decided what happened. An observer remains willing to see. Stay closer to observation. At lunch, someone may ask about your plans. They may say, "Are you still going for that promotion? Are you still moving? Are you still trying to make that relationship work? Are you still building that project?" You do not have to produce the old confident answer. You also do not have to reveal everything. You can say, "I am thinking out what makes sense now." You can say, I am taking a little time to reassess. You can say, I am still working through it. That is enough. Privacy is not dishonesty. You are allowed to protect a transition while it is still forming. Not everyone deserves access to unfinished parts of you. Some people hear uncertainty and immediately try to fill it with their own certainty. They tell you what you should want. They remind you who you used to be. They become uncomfortable when your changing direction challenges their picture of you. Their discomfort is not automatically evidence that you are wrong. It is information about their relationship with your change. You can listen without surrendering the room. You can receive advice. Consider it. Thank someone for caring. Then return to your own life. The final decision has to be lived by the person who makes it. If someone tells you to stay in a career, they do not wake in your body each morning. If someone tells you to leave immediately, they may not carry your financial responsibilities. If someone tells you to reconcile, they may not know what happened behind closed doors. If someone tells you to chase harder, they may not understand the cost. Good advice respects reality. Good advice leaves room for context. Your new light includes information other people may not possess. Use it responsibly. If you need expertise, seek expertise. If you need support, seek support. If you need time, make time where you can. The vow is not isolation. It is honesty. Later in the afternoon, fatigue may blur everything. A difficult meeting can make the whole career look wrong. A lonely hour can make the old relationship look ideal. A disappointing result can make you believe every year of effort was wasted. Do not let one hard hour become the lighting for your entire life. The sun moves through the room. So does emotion. Wait long enough to see what remains when the intensity changes. This is especially important when you are carrying old wounds. A familiar pain can make the past look safer than it was. Nostalgia edits. It keeps the warmth and removes the cost. You remember the laughter. You forget how often you could not sleep. You remember the beginning. You forget how small you felt near the end. You remember the excitement of starting the project. You forget how much of the work became fear-driven. You remember the praise. You forget how empty you felt after receiving it. Let memory be tender. Do not let it become incomplete evidence. The room deserves the whole light. This can also work in the opposite direction. When you are angry, you may remember only the pain. You may decide nothing good existed. That is another form of selective lighting. Clarity can hold complexity. This mattered to me, and it hurt me. I learned here, and I am tired here. I loved this, and I may be finished, doll. I am grateful, and I need something different. Two truths can exist in the same room. You do not have to flatten your life into one sentence. When work ends or the day begins to slow, there may be another difficult moment. You return to your own space. There is less noise, less distraction. The question comes back, what am I going to do? Your mind may demand that tonight become decision night. Resist that pressure if there is no true urgency. You are allowed to have an evening without producing a life plan. Make dinner. Wash a plate. Stand near a window. Hear the ordinary sounds around you. A car passing. A door closing. Water running. Someone speaking in another room. The life you are actually living is happening while you think about the life you might live. Do not miss all of it. This day is not a waiting room. Your present is not meaningless just because your future is unsettled. That is one of the traps of chasing. You tell yourself real life begins after the goal. After the promotion, after the move, after the relationship changes, after the money improves, after the body changes, after clarity arrives. Then years pass in preparation for a life that was already occurring. You deserve more presence than that, even now, especially now. You can be uncertain and still notice what is good. You can be in transition and still laugh. You can question a dream and still enjoy dinner. You can grieve and still feel sunlight on your face. You can be unfinished without being absent from your own life. There is no contradiction. If you open your phone during the evening, the old measuring system may appear immediately. Someone got the job. Someone bought the house. Someone announced an engagement. Someone launched the company. Someone reached the number. Someone became what you once said you wanted to become. Watch what happens inside you, not to judge it, to learn. There may be envy. Let the envy become specific. Do you want what they have, or do you want the feeling you imagine they have? Those are different. You may see someone celebrating a promotion and feel a sting. Is the sting saying, I want that job? Or is it saying, I want to feel proud of myself? You may see a couple and feel sadness. Is the sadness saying, I want that exact life? Or is it saying, I want closeness, tenderness, partnership, and belonging? You may see someone living in another city. Do you want that city? Or do you want novelty? Space, independence, movement? Let the deeper need reveal itself. Then you can become creative about how it is met. When you believed one object was the only answer, life became narrow. More light shows alternatives. You may still choose the original object, but now you choose with clearer eyes. This is the difference between chasing and choosing. Chasing says, I need this or I am not enough. Choosing says, "This matters to me, and I will move toward it without making it my identity." Chasing cannot tolerate delay. Choosing can adapt. Chasing makes every obstacle personal. Choosing evaluates. Chasing wants proof. Choosing wants alignment between the life imagined and the life actually lived. You are learning to choose. That process may feel slower. Slow does not mean lost. It means you are including more of yourself in the decision. As evening continues, take one old desire and place it mentally in the center of the room. Do not decorate it. Do not darken it. See it under the light you have now. Ask, what did you once promise me? What did I believe I would feel if I reached you? Which part of that promise still feels true? Which part came from fear? Which part came from love? Which part came from comparison? Which part came from genuine curiosity? Which part has already been fulfilled in another form? You do not need to answer every question. One honest answer is enough. The old dream may surprise you. You may discover it was carrying several needs at once. You wanted the career because it represented money, respect, creativity, and freedom. Now you may see that the career offers respect and money, but very little freedom. That does not make the career wrong. It makes your equation more accurate. You can ask whether the exchange is worth it for you. You wanted the relationship because it offered closeness, family, security, and belonging. Now you may see that you received closeness at times, but the relationship also required you to ignore important boundaries. Again, a clearer equation. You wanted recognition because it promised confidence. Now you know recognition can feel good, while confidence still requires an internal relationship with yourself. More information. You are not destroying the dream. You are reading the fine print that darkness concealed. There is power in that. You become harder to manipulate, less vulnerable to promises that shine only from a distance. More interested in what a life feels like from within. This is not cynicism. Cynicism says nothing is worth wanting. Clarity says want what is real, love what is real, build what is real, know the cost, know the value. Do not ask one object to become your salvation. When you live this way, desire can become lighter. You can want something deeply without turning it into a verdict. You can work hard without treating exhaustion as proof of virtue. You can change course without humiliating your former self. You can succeed without believing success made you more worthy. You can fail without believing failure made you less worthy. This is freedom inside ambition, not the absence of ambition. Freedom inside it. And if the old dream truly no longer belongs to you the same, freedom lets you set it down without creating an enemy out of it. There will be a time for that if setting it down is what clarity asks. But you do not have to perform a goodbye. Some things leave your life without a ceremony. You stop checking, stop planning around them, stop making them the first thing you think about. Your attention becomes available elsewhere. One day you realize the object is still in the room, but it is no longer in the center. You moved nothing deliberately. Your life simply began arranging itself around different values. This can happen slowly enough that nobody else notices. Then someone asks about the old dream, and you hear your own answer. It surprises you. I think I want something different now. The sentence is simple. No apology, no argument, no attack on the past, just truth. That may be where the vow has been leading, not toward a dramatic break, toward the ability to say what is real without forcing the room back into yesterday's colors. Carry that into tomorrow. When you open a door, remember that you are allowed to enter your own life as the person you are now. When you answer a message, remember that you do not need to perform certainty you do not possess. When you sit at your desk, remember that today's responsibility is not automatically a lifetime contract. When you make a decision, ask whether you are choosing from fear of disappointing an old identity or from respect for present reality. When you catch yourself comparing, ask whether you actually want the other person's destination or only the feeling you imagine it represents. When you feel relief, listen. When you feel grief, listen. When you feel renewed interest after rest, listen to that too. Do not make one emotion the ruler. Let patterns speak. Let time reveal. Let the room grow brighter. You can carry this into a conversation you have been avoiding. You do not need to arrive with a verdict. You can say, something has been changing for me, and I want to be honest about it. You can say, I am trying to understand what I want now. You can say, I care about this, and I also need to look at what is no longer working. Truth spoken early can prevent resentment spoken late. Not every conversation will go the way you hope. Another person may feel threatened. They may disagree. They may need time. Their feelings deserve consideration where the relationship is safe and mutual. But consideration is different from erasing yourself. You can care about someone's reaction without making their reaction the only light in the room. You can remain respectful while holding your own perception. That is part of standing. Standing does not mean becoming rigid. It means staying present with yourself. You do not disappear the moment someone else becomes uncomfortable. You do not attack them either. You remain. You listen. You speak. You adjust when new information is valid. You protect what needs protection. That is a mature form of strength. And when the day becomes busy again, the vow can become shorter. Stand in the new light. 4 words. That may be enough. Before a meeting, before a difficult call, before opening an old message, before looking at a goal you have been forcing. Stand in the new light. You do not need to memorize a speech. You need a reminder. The room is allowed to change color. Your understanding is allowed to deepen. Your life is allowed to teach you. You are allowed to know something now that you did not know when you first began. There is no shame in updated wisdom. There is no prize for remaining loyal to a misunderstanding. There is dignity in learning. You may still choose the same path after all of this. If you do, let it be a fresher choice. Not because you are frightened of looking inconsistent, not because people are watching, not because you need the destination to prove your worth. Choose it because, under the light you have now, enough of it still belongs to you. And if you choose differently, let that choice come from the same place. Not from panic, not from revenge, not from one difficult afternoon. From a pattern you have been willing to see. This is how the old question begins to loosen. Am I failing? It stops being the center. A different question takes its place. What is true now, and what would it look like to honor that truth responsibly? That question can accompany you anywhere, into work, into love, into money, into creativity, into family, into the changing relationship you have with your own body, into aging, into healing, into any place where the old map no longer fits perfectly. What is true now? What would it look like to honor that truth responsibly? You may not always like the answer. Clarity is not designed to flatter you. It may reveal that you need more discipline rather than less. It may reveal that you have been using outgrowing as a softer word for avoiding something difficult. If so, you can face that without shame. The new light is not only for seeing what you want to release, it is also for seeing where you need to grow. You may discover that the dream still matters and you have been afraid of failing. Then the honest step may be recommitment. You may discover that a relationship is safe, but conflict frightens you. Then the honest step may be communication rather than escape. You may discover that your work has meaning, but your boundaries are poor. Then the honest step may be changing how you work, not abandoning the work. Clarity does not always agree with comfort. That is why this is not about chasing relief. It is about seeing. The vow stays the same. I will stand in the new light and let the room change color without forcing it back to gray. If the new light shows you that you still care, honor that. If it shows you that you need rest, honor that. If it shows you a boundary, honor that. If it shows you a mistake, repair what you can. If it shows you that a chapter has ended, let yourself learn what ending means. If it shows you nothing clearly yet, remain open without attacking yourself. There is room for all of this. By now, the room in your mind may no longer look like it did at 5 in the morning. The gray has lifted, edges have appeared. The gold is stronger. You can see what has always been there. Some things are more beautiful in this light. Some things are less impressive. Some things need repair. Some things are still useful. Some things have been taking up space simply because nobody questioned them. And there is still no need to rush around moving everything. First see, then choose. First see, then choose. That order matters. It protects you from living by reflex. It protects you from making shame your compass. It protects you from mistaking familiarity for truth. Soon you will have to decide what belongs in the center of this room now, not what belonged there 5 years ago, not what impressed everyone, not what you promised when you were afraid, what belongs now. And before that decision becomes action, the words you repeat to yourself will matter. Because whatever you are outgrowing, the next chapter should not be built from contempt for the old one. It can be built from a quieter place, a place where you no longer need to call your changing heart a failure, a place where the light itself becomes enough evidence that something in you is ready to be seen. You do not need to rush toward the center of the room. Stand where you are for another moment. The morning has already done something important. It has shown you that perception can change without destruction. Nothing had to break for you to understand it differently. Nothing had to become terrible before you were permitted to question whether it still belonged at the center of your life. This may be the part you have needed most. You are allowed to change without turning the past into an enemy. You are allowed to become clearer without calling your former self foolish. You are allowed to stop chasing without pretending you never cared. You're allowed to care differently. You're allowed to want differently. You're allowed to define a good life differently than you did when the original dream was born. That is not weakness. It is participation. You are participating in your own life instead of forcing yourself to repeat an old instruction simply because you once wrote it down. There is a profound difference between abandoning your life and revising your understanding of it. One is disconnection. The other can be awareness. One ignores what matters. The other asks what matters now. This is why you do not need to panic when your enthusiasm becomes quieter. Sometimes enthusiasm becomes quieter because exhaustion needs attention. Sometimes because disappointment needs healing. Sometimes because fear has taken over. And sometimes because you have genuinely outgrown the emotional bargain that made the old desire feel essential. You used to say, "If I get this, I will finally feel enough." Now you may recognize that enough cannot be permanently delivered by one achievement. You used to say, "If this person chooses me, then I will know I am lovable." Now you may recognize that love requiring self-erasure is not the kind of love you want to build a life around. You used to say, "If I can prove everyone wrong, I will feel free." Now you may see that organizing your life around other people's doubt still leaves them in control. You used to say, "If I become impressive enough, I will relax." Now you may understand that a mind trained to earn worth can always invent another test. This is not the death of ambition. It may be the beginning of ambition without fear sitting in the driver's seat. You can still create, still grow, still improve, still set goals, still pursue meaningful work, still build wealth, still love deeply, still learn, still stretch, still become. But the question changes. Instead of asking, what do I have to achieve so I can finally respect myself? You can ask, what becomes possible when self-respect comes with me? That question has a different energy. You do not arrive empty-handed. You do not ask the goal to complete you. You bring yourself into the pursuit. And because you bring yourself, you become capable of leaving a pursuit that requires you to disappear. That is discernment. Not every door deserves endless knocking. Not every closed door is rejection. Not every open door is invitation. Not every opportunity is yours simply because it is available. Not every old dream deserves renewal simply because you once cried for it. You can evaluate from where you stand now. Look again at the room. The chair that once looked like the most important object may now seem ordinary. The window you barely saw in darkness may be the first thing you notice. The small plant near the corner may suddenly appear green. The photograph may seem less important than the actual people you want to call today. The doorway may begin to matter more than the furniture. Nothing had to disappear. Your attention changed, and attention has power. Where attention goes, life often begins gathering around it. This is why releasing an old chase can create such unexpected space. Hours return, thoughts return, energy returns. You begin recognizing how often your mind was occupied by rehearsal. What will I say when I succeed? What will they think? How will it feel when they finally regret doubting me? How will I look? What will I post? What will happen when everyone sees? These fantasies may have been understandable, but they consumed real time. When the chase softens, that time becomes available for actual life. You can use it to build something truer, or you can leave some of it empty. Emptiness is not automatically a problem. An empty chair can become a place to sit. An empty hour can become rest. An empty page can become possibility. An unanswered question can become the beginning of honesty. You do not need to fill every opening immediately. This is where trust becomes practical. Not trust that everything will happen exactly as you want. Not trust that every loss hides a reward. Not trust that life will protect you from disappointment. A simpler trust. Trust that you can remain present while understanding changes. Trust that you can learn. Trust that you can ask for help. Trust that you can repair a mistake. Trust that you can make another decision when new information appears. Trust that a changing desire does not erase your capacity to choose. There is no perfect path that becomes visible all at once. There are only choices made with the light you have. Then more light. Then another choice. This is how many real lives are built, not through one flawless vision, through revision, through courage, through humility, through admitting, I know more now. You may wish you had known earlier. Most people do. You look backward with today's light and wonder why yesterday's room seemed so confusing. But yesterday did not have today's dawn. You could only see what was visible then. This does not remove responsibility. It removes unnecessary cruelty. You can take responsibility for what you did without demanding that your past self possess knowledge they had not yet learned. You can say, I understand now. That is enough to begin differently. If there is something to apologize for, apologize. If there is something to repair, repair what is yours. If there is something to release, release it with care. If there is something worth recommitting to, recommit with clearer eyes. Let the new choice come from the new light, not from punishment. Imagine the coming weeks. You may still think about the old dream. It may visit you unexpectedly. A song, a place, someone else's announcement, an old document, a photograph, a date on the calendar, a sentence someone says without knowing what it touches in you. You may feel the old pull for a moment. Do not panic. A memory is not a command. A feeling is not a contract. You can remember who you were without rebuilding the entire life around that person's longing. You can smile at an old dream. You can grieve it. You can even feel temporarily jealous of someone living it. Then you can return to yourself. Ask, what is true today? At what was true at 20, not what was true before the disappointment, not what was true before healing. Today, this question keeps you alive to your own life. There may also be days when the old pursuit becomes exciting again. Do not distrust that either. You are not required to prove that you have outgrown something. The purpose was never to reach a predetermined answer. If rest brings the desire back, listen. If a healthier approach makes the dream feel alive again, listen. If removing comparison reveals genuine love for the work beneath it, listen. Perhaps you were not outgrowing the destination. Perhaps you were outgrowing the way you were trying to reach it. That is still growth. You may keep the room. Open the window. Move the chair. Let more light in. Your life does not need to become a dramatic before and after story to become more honest. Sometimes one adjustment changes everything. a boundary, a different schedule, a different role, a slower pace, a conversation, a smaller goal, a more realistic timeline. Permission to enjoy what you are building before it becomes enormous. Permission to stop making one metric the judge of whether your work matters. These changes can return life to something you thought you had lost. And if they do not, you learn that too. There is no wasted honesty. The answer to the old question becomes clearer over time. What do you do with a dream that no longer looks the same in the new light? You stop forcing an immediate verdict. You look. You learn what it was carrying. You separate the deeper need from the original form. You see whether rest restores it. You see whether fear has been hiding inside your indifference. You see whether the cost still matches your values. You let practical reality matter. You let safety matter. You let responsibility matter. You let your own experience matter. Then you choose from there. Sometimes you carry the dream forward differently. Sometimes you reduce it. Sometimes you reshape it. Sometimes you thank it and set it down. Sometimes you leave it in the room without needing to decide what it means today. Sometimes you realize you never wanted the object as much as you wanted the feeling you associated with it. Then the deeper work becomes finding healthier ways to live that feeling now. If you wanted freedom, where can freedom begin before the final achievement? If you wanted belonging, where can honest belonging be practiced now? If you wanted respect, where are you still withholding respect from yourself? If you wanted safety, what practical support could create more stability? If you wanted creativity, how much of it has been delayed until someone gives you permission? If you wanted peace, which habits keep telling your body that rest must be earned? These questions move you beneath the chase, beneath the image, beneath the applause, toward the need. A need understood clearly becomes less likely to control you from the shadows. Then you can care for it directly. You do not have to ask one person to represent all belonging, one job to represent all worth, one number to represent all safety, one achievement to represent all success. The room becomes wider. You begin seeing multiple sources of meaning. That is what the morning was revealing all along. Not that everything must leave, that everything can be seen in proportion. One goal is not the room. One relationship is not the room. One failure is not the room. One success is not the room. One version of you is not the room. There is more here. There has always been more here. You were simply focused on the object you believed would decide everything. Now the light spreads. You see the floor beneath you. You see the window. You see the door. You see the walls holding years of experience. You see space that was hidden. You see that the life around the dream was never empty. You were living even while waiting. You were becoming even while chasing. You were learning even while disappointed. You were building capacities that may belong to a future you had not imagined yet. This is why an ending does not get to confiscate everything you learned on the way. If you leave the path, you keep the discipline, you keep the knowledge, you keep the relationships that remain healthy, you keep the skill, you keep the self-awareness, you keep the evidence that you can begin, you keep the evidence that you can adapt, you keep the parts of yourself that grew strong while carrying something difficult. Nothing honest is entirely lost. It changes form. You may use the skill in another field. You may bring the lesson into another relationship. You may use the courage you built pursuing one dream to release another that no longer fits. Life recycles experience in ways you cannot always predict. A closed chapter can become material for wisdom. Not because pain was required, not because everything happens for a reason, you are obligated to understand. Because you can choose what you do with what has already happened. That choice remains yours. You do not have to romanticize difficulty. You can simply refuse to let it be meaningless. Now, before we leave this room, there are a few words you can carry, not as commands, not as magical guarantees, as reminders. Let each one land where it belongs. I am allowed to see my life clearly. I can honor who I was without becoming trapped there. My changing desires deserve curiosity before judgment. I can learn without humiliating my past. I can rest before making a major decision. I can separate fear from truth. I can separate habit from commitment. I can separate approval from love. I can separate recognition from worth. I can separate urgency from importance. I can appreciate a dream without keeping it forever. I can choose again when I know more. I can let experience update my understanding. I can care without chasing. I can want without making my worth depend on receiving. I can succeed without becoming more worthy. I can fail without becoming less worthy. I can change direction responsibly. I can remain when remaining is true. I can leave when leaving is wise. I can ask for support. I can protect my boundaries. I can take my time. I can listen to patterns. I can trust clarity more than shame. I can let the room become visible. I can stand in new light. I can choose from here. I am seeing more. I am learning. I am here. I can choose. New light. Clear eyes. More room. No forcing. I am willing. I am growing. I can see. I am here. There is nothing else you must repeat, nothing you must memorize. You do not need to carry every line into tomorrow. One is enough. Maybe the sentence that remains is the original one. I am not failing. I am seeing my life in a new light. Maybe that is still too large. Then keep only this. I am willing to see. That can be enough for today. You can leave the rest here. You do not need to continue thinking about your entire future after these words end. You are permitted to return to the ordinary life around you. Drink water, eat something, open a window, answer what needs answering. Rest if you are tired. Take the walk. Finish the small task. Speak to someone trustworthy if a decision feels too heavy to carry alone. The insight does not become more valid because you obsess over it. Clarity sometimes deepens when you stop staring at the question. You can let the day continue. The room will still be there when you return. Tomorrow's light may reveal something else. That is not inconsistency. That is the nature of seeing. Perhaps a week from now you will know more. Perhaps a month from now the decision will feel obvious. Perhaps you will discover that the old dream belongs to you in a new form. Perhaps you will realize that what felt like losing interest was the first evidence that the old chase no longer had the power to define you. You do not need to predict which one will happen. The promise is not that a perfect answer is coming. The promise is that you can meet yourself honestly when the answer becomes clearer. That is enough. There may come a moment when you look backward at this period and recognize what you could not yet name while living it. You may realize you were not becoming less passionate. You were becoming less available for pursuits that asked you to betray your own values. You may realize you were not losing ambition. You were losing interest in ambition powered entirely by fear. You may realize you were not giving up on love. You were becoming unwilling to confuse longing with mutual care. You may realize you were not becoming lazy. You were learning that constant exhaustion is not the only evidence of effort. You may realize you were not failing because an old pursuit stopped holding the same power over you. You may have been outgrowing the version of yourself who needed that pursuit to prove something. And if that is what is happening, let it happen without contempt. Growth does not always look like adding. Sometimes it is subtraction. Less proving, less chasing, less explaining, less performing. Less fear attached to the future. Less loyalty to identities that have already taught you everything they could. Then beneath all that less, something more honest begins to appear. More choice, more presence, more room, more ability to hear yourself, more respect for time, more care for the life you are actually living, more willingness to ask whether the destination is worth the road. That is not emptiness. It is space becoming usable again. The room at dawn does not mourn the gray forever. It does not cling to darkness to prove that night mattered. Night mattered because it was night. Morning matters because it is morning. One did not have to defeat the other. The hour changed. You changed too. You are allowed to let that be true. If this reflection has met you at the right moment, and you want to continue with more affirmations and healing reflections in the same quiet spirit, you can move into the playlist and choose whichever message feels most supportive for where you are now. There is no need to choose quickly. Even that can be simple. One next message, one next morning, one next honest step. And if you do nothing more today, let this remain with you. You do not need to force yesterday's dream to look beautiful under today's light. You do not need to punish yourself because the colors changed. You do not need to return to gray simply because gray once felt familiar. You can honor the night. You can honor the dawn. You can honor the person who chased. You can honor the person who sees differently now. Both belong to you. Both brought you here. The future does not require you to hate your past. It asks only that you stop pretending not to see what morning has revealed. Let the old room be what it was. Let the new light be what it is. Stand here without apology. See what remains. See what has changed. See what is asking for more truth. Then, when the time comes, choose. Not from shame, not from the fear of looking inconsistent, not from the need to make every previous sacrifice justify itself forever. Choose from what is visible now. Choose from the life you actually have. Choose with respect for who you are becoming. All is well. The room is still yours. The light is new. You do not have to return to gray. Morning has reached every corner.